Hello and welcome back to Shpielberg. I'm Nathan and
Shpielberg!
that is, yes, you heard it here, Steven Shpielberg, who is actually online. We finally got our sponsor, Sony. Thank you very much. No,
Sony? Oh, wow. We are not sponsored by Sony.
We're not sponsored by
We have no relation to Sony.
Absolutely, he is not Jesus, okay? Okay, that's just 100% clear. All right,
Ooh,
Sony's not
back.
Jesus.
Call
the other
back.
guy's not. Stephen Franco is not.
Stephen Franco.
Stephen Franco.
It's Stephen Franco
Sony
time.
Franco. We're here, if you don't know, which since we're not making any sense, we're here to talk about films, video games, stories, theology, and everything in between. In other words, we're here to give you the spiel. How you doing, John?
I'm doing all right.
That's good. We were talking beforehand. John is deathly ill with a disease. This is all good, all right?
All of it.
Today we are talking about Apocalypse Now. And the subtitle for this day's recording is The Apocalypse, sponsored by The Godfather. Well, John here and I are going to give you an offer that you can't refuse. Guess what? It's not anything to do with sponsorship. It's about staying the next hour with us or so. And we are first going to talk a little bit about the general plot. I'll give you a rundown since today, this week is my choice, which was Apocalypse Now. I'm going to give you a general rundown on the plot, and then we're going to talk about a little bit the main characters. Format is our likes, dislikes, author's intents, and what we as believers can take away from Apocalypse Now. So, this is the general plot. I kept it as general as possible because...
Thank you.
Well, you'll see. Okay. Captain Willard, a rugged and tortured soul, is summoned for a secret mission. This mission is to assassinate a rogue colonel in the jungles of the Congo, bordering with Vietnam, which is where the mission takes place, that time period. In this mission, Captain Willard is...
Congo does not border Vietnam.
Oh, crap. It's in the time of the Vietnam. See, this is how terrible I am with geology. And you can keep that one in. Geography. It's not geology or geography.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's all math, right?
So, on this mission, Captain Willard is sent along with a very small Navy vessel to make it to Colonel Kurtz and kill this villainous virus. So, we always have a really tough time naming the main characters, so I thought it would be kind of fun to try to name each of the main characters, at least in the boat, and then exterior to the boat, which would be just, Captain Colonel, General, President Kurtz.
Folks, he did not prepare me for this. I have no idea what we're doing.
Okay, there has to... Captain Willard was the easy one,
yes.
because he's the main character,
yes.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Then there's Morpheus. He's the only one I know. Which was shocking, by the way, to see him,
How long did it take you to recognize Lawrence Fishburne?
No, genuinely, like a couple minutes. I was like staring at him. I was like, "Oh, who's this random dude?" I wonder if any of these are successful. And then, like after Apocalypse Now, and then I started looking at him, and I was like, "He's gonna give me the choice, blue or red pill." Oh my gosh, him. And then there's surfer dude. Can we just call him the surfer dude? And then
sure,
the cook.
I mean, he has a name, but I don't remember what it was.
No, barely. Colonel, Captain, I think it's a captain. Kilgore. He's the kind of midway point for the group, which is an amazing scene. And then the captain of the ship, the Navy ship, the PBR. Right? It's called a PBR, something like that. So we got like more than that. I don't know. 6 characters that we've named so far, aside from Colonel Kurtz. So those are the people we'll kind of surround ourselves with, especially when it comes to the storyline. And all of them are actually pretty important. Obviously, some more than others. Main premise is killing this Colonel Kurtz via Captain Willard, which is sent on this classified mission, and no one in the PBR really knows, what's going on. But all these people in the boat are. Well, we'll talk about that. So, what did you think? What do you think about the general plot? What were your likes? What do you think about how they made the film? And then we'll go to dislikes.
So this is my first time seeing Apocalypse Now.
As well as mine. This is big, by the way. Yeah, for the people who don't know, both of us have never seen Apocalypse Now. So this is, yeah.
I was very much surprised because I've always heard this movie talked about. Everyone quotes some of the lines from the movie, and it's one of those weird movies that I've heard so much about. And yet I never actually hear people recommend it. I never hear people like, oh yeah, it's a great movie. It's just, oh yeah, I love the smell of napalm in the morning. And that's all everyone ever says. So going into this movie, like usual, I went in as blind as possible. So I knew basically nothing about it. And I was very, very pleasantly surprised. It was a very, very well done movie. I know I was thinking about like halfway through some of the helicopter scenes that this truly is what makes big budget Hollywood good. This kind of movie cannot be done with computer generation. I mean, you can do it, but it's not the same. You need a huge budget. You need the production of Hollywood in order to pull something like this off.
Most definitely.
Yeah, I was very pleasantly surprised. It is a very beautiful looking movie. My bias towards anamorphic lenses will shine again. It was shot on anamorphic. Shot on what? I looked this up. By the way, if you're ever interested in what the technical aspects of a film are, such as what it was shot on, the cameras and lenses used, stuff like that, it's all on IMDb.
Not sponsored by IMDb.
If you go onto a movie page on IMDb and scroll way down to the technical specs, you'll find a whole bunch of information there. And I always peruse it.
We'd love to be sponsored by IMDb if they have us.
So if I remember correctly, this movie was shot mostly on 35 millimeter. They used Kodak as well, the Kodak Eastman film. Shot on, what is it, Todd AO? Anyway, anamorphic lenses, the good old stuff that has all that barrel distortion when you go into wide angles. Wonderful.
It does really work.
Yes.
It works for this.
So little thing about me, I usually do not like wide angle shots. And I think this is one of the first movies that it was obvious it was a wide angle. There was tons of barrel distortion happening, and I loved it. And I was like, wow, okay. I wasn't expecting this. This is quite nice. Yeah, a very, very ambitious film to shoot. A lot of moving parts, a lot of very complicated scenes. Adding to the fact, or rather on top of the fact that they shot it all on film. Pulling focus on an anamorphic lens while using a film camera with a fleet of helicopters landing and bombing ashore has got to be an extraordinarily complicated thing to do. And they pulled it off so well. Even after watching the movie, going back and watching scenes again was like, this is incredible. People talk a lot about, big Hollywood productions today, like your Avatar, your Avengers, stuff like that. Those, though, my eyes tend to glaze over a bit because I know that it was done mostly in post. Whereas this, you can edit in post, you can cut between shots, but what you get on film is what you get on film. There's not much you can do. So yes, I was very impressed by the production of the whole thing. I very much enjoyed the characters. I enjoyed the focus on narration and what Captain Willard was thinking through a lot of the movie.
It's kind of a forgotten thing in film now. And don't you find that? I don't think we get a lot of narrative or narrated plot movements anymore.
Yeah, not too much. But yes, just focus on narration. Loved it. So the movie's runtime was 2.5 hours. And I did not think that it felt like a long movie until 3/4 of the way through. That was when it started to slow down a lot more and started to...
Was this dislikes?
A little bit. But I say up until that point, it did not feel like a long movie. I was engaged. Like, I did not have a problem suspending disbelief. Like, I was absorbed in this movie
Yes.
up until towards the end when it started to feel a bit long. I was very impressed by that, considering how slow the pacing is. It still kept me engaged. I was like, bravo.
Yes. Let's go into that because that is impressive. Just basic, like what's actually happening. He gets the mission, number one. Number two,
Well,
he gets on.
Well, let's very beginning. We have what, 2 minutes, 3 minutes of
sure.
just kind of
Hysteria.
pulling you into the movie by using
Yes.
lots of shots overlaid on top of each other, lots of symbolism. Even the song itself, the first words heard in the movie are "This is the end."
Very good.
Pulling you
music
into
also, yeah.
a sense of, at least the way that I saw it, that this very much is a war movie. This is going to be a very difficult movie, and this is going to be a very long movie. I think that was perfect, that the way that they kind of set you up with those anticipations right from the intro,
Yeah.
so that you kind of already know what you're expecting, even though you don't know what you're expecting.
Yeah. There's huge events that happen in the film, but the story takes place in this kind of brutal, slow pacing. I mean, the PBRs, those boats, I'm going to have to double check what they're actually called, but those boats, they don't move very fast in the grand scheme of things. In the jungle, you don't move fast. But every moment, it felt like something that was happening, the mundane that was happening. Oh, we have to get to that Charlie region with Captain Kilgore, right? That's a normal thing. You're just doing a raid on a village, clearing the path, right? But that was a whole thing, or even like checking the boat in our direct line of sight. And then this big thing happens, in the dynamic of the characters that shatter the psyche, it seems like, of the boat. Those are small kind of prodding steps to a big thing, but they all didn't feel slow, to your point.
Yeah, they felt very deliberately done. The one complaint I'll make is not so much on the movie. I didn't realize this until probably half an hour into the film. It looks like it was recolored to me. At least the one I was watching on Apple TV once again. Yeah, the movie looks like it's been recolored. Kind of lazily recolored, because they didn't go shot for shot. You'll be watching some of the helicopter scenes, and very clearly not all of the film was properly color timed, and so there's some leaning towards magenta and back to green. Little things like that, which is totally expectable in a film like this that was shot when it was shot. I'm totally fine with that. It comes with the territory. But yet there was this slight added contrast and slight split tone effect between orange and green, which I wasn't super thrilled about. With how amazing this movie looks between being shot on film, using anamorphic lenses, and some of the cinematography, some of the settings that they used after the helicopters were taking off in the morning with the light coming up over the mountains. That shot is beautiful. And so a part of me was disappointed when I realized this movie's been recolored, hasn't it? So to any prospective filmmakers or producers who are listening to this, please don't recolor movies. And if you do, give viewers the option of switching back to the original.
Sponsored by Reason.
Unless we just want to go back to like old works of art like Michelangelo's David and say, you know what? He's too masculine. We need to make him a bit feminine now.
Just totally change Da Vinci's artwork. I think most art enthusiasts would love that.
Oh, absolutely. It's
Michelangelo's David.
It's what he actually intended it to look like, so we're just gonna fix it for him.
Yeah, of course.
So how about you, Nathan? What were your highs and lows for this movie? What'd you love and hate?
First of all, man, obviously movies are baked into culture context, and so when I'm going into things, for me, Apocalypse Now has always been always in the periphery, kind of like how you talked about, John. There's always been talk about it, in reference to either like a specific quote, or maybe like I've even heard it with an actor in a behind the scenes of a modern movie. They're say, should I do like an Apocalypse Now version of that take? Like I've heard behind the scenes where people use that. It's almost amazing. Like this is like a film studies, movie, right? And so it's so baked into the culture, but I very little of it did I really understand or know. All I knew was a Vietnam movie. It was definitely a war movie, and that's it, right? And Napalm in the Morning, right? That's it. I would totally agree with you that the first beginning scene was perfect. It set the tone, because when I'm engaging with a story, we talk about with young writers the hook of an essay, the hook of a story. We always want to write the hook. You probably even heard that in elementary school. But hooks are treated differently depending on what you're doing. And so this was this was an unbarbed hook. If you've ever been fishing, there's barbed hooks, and then there's an unbarbed hook. And this is us kind of nibbling at the bait that's on that hook. And we're slowly approaching this theme and this character. Right away we understand, okay, this is helicopters, so Vietnam. Helicopters equals Vietnam, especially in that culture and in our culture, right? Then we get this cross-faded image of the man behind the music that we're hearing with the helicopter noise.
And he's upside down.
The music is perfect, of course. We all know that. I mean, it's just legendary stuff that I didn't know. It's kind of learning the legend. You've been baked in the culture, but now you're learning the legend. And this feels like, wow, okay, this was a really big cultural moment for us. But anyway, so that is a summation of what I think the entire film really achieves for me, which is very, very, very good story making and storytelling. I thought every single one of the characters was thought out. They were there for a reason, and it wasn't a reason to uphold the plot. It was a reason because they were there, treating the story as if it is real, which is really important for a storyteller, is to treat your characters. Yes, you can kind of bend them, but treat your characters as if they're really in that environment. And so I thought that was very successfully done. The acting, to comment on the acting, this is an 80s movie. I mean, it's 79, but generally, it's branching over to the 80s, but it's really late 70s acting. I think this was probably a shock to the system for most. I know George Lucas was approached to, in hindsight, looking up all this stuff. George Lucas was approached to making the film, right? And we get a
really?
super different, yeah, isn't that interesting?
I'm so glad he didn't do it.
Exactly, yeah. And we get a totally different style, I think, from a lot of the 70s. A lot of cliches, I should say. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the era of the cliche. And this wasn't that. Yes, there's overtones, maybe dramatized acting, kind of overacting. But I think that was curbed from the fact that this is a very intense place that we're in. And the humor, like Kilgore in Round a Middle Point, worked so well. It was so good. The humor worked incredibly well in the midst of this kind of dark and dingy story. And so I really liked the dynamics of the character, and I really liked their intent behind those things in the acting that helped facilitate that. Some dislikes, we can always say in hindsight that certain beliefs are reductive. I would say that indicative of like World War I, World War II, even before that, our American wars, there was this kind of disunity in the men who fought those wars were like, oh, I'm killing a human. That's a problem. And grappling with that, and as a big concept is the horrors of war. I think it navigated it well. I just think its language sometimes was reductive. Like they were almost trying to overplay it. And I don't, saying it out loud, it might be a baseless accusation, but I just felt it was a little bit more 70s cliche kind of understanding of the war rather than an attempt to really get at the. But you can push back on that if you want. I'm not wholly made up my mind on that.
Well, we'll get into that more onto when we talk about the intent of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't really like the electro music. I'm sorry. It's good. I thought it was very well written.
Oh, the synth stuff?
Yeah, the synth stuff.
Oh.
Like the carnival, the carnival kind of music overlaid when they were crossing into Cambodia.
Yeah.
And that really weird. Like that was like, oh, that is so good. But then there was other parts where it was like, okay, am I in Blade Runner right now? What's going on? Like,
But dude, that was the time everyone was using synth stuff, and
I know,
it's great.
I know, it's good. It was good. So my complaint is the fact that we're in this time period. That's it. Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Well, here's
Please
the thing.
don't do a reboot.
How much different would it have made the movie if they had a traditional orchestra, or if they had culture accurate music, so like actual Vietnamese folk music or something?
Well, hold on.
It's gonna put the movie in a very different flavor.
So we know that Star Wars was made before. Before this.
2 years, right? Came out in 1977.
Yeah, I think so. So they used exclusively orchestra,
And jazz.
And well, yes. I mean, it was really hard to get the aliens there, but they eventually got them, and then they gave them a couple of weird bassoons or something. But for example, that worked really well, right? I agree that that the period music that they used was great. I don't know. It gave a weird texture, which is good. I like it. It's kind of like that. I like it, but I don't like it. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm completely biased. I love synth, and I will always love synth, especially that dirty retro synth sound. When it wasn't the mid 80s, we hadn't cleaned up synth yet. The synthesis still had that dirty analog sound. I love that. I love it so much.
It's Blade Runner, man. It's
basically
okay, that it really works. I would totally 100% agree. I like that. All right. Why don't we take 3 subtleties you enjoyed?
Ooh, 3.
I have probably only one that I remember really vividly.
Well, why don't you tackle yours first then? Because to me there was a lot of things that were communicated in this movie through what we saw.
Right. So number 1, the most vivid example that kind of like just punched me in the face was this. I don't know. It probably was like even a D subplot. The cook, the character, the cook, goes out wanting to get mangoes, right? And
gotta get me some
Captain
mangoes.
Willard, I want to give me some mangoes. And Captain Willard says, all right, fine, but I'll go with you. And so he goes, right? And then there's this really tense scene, like, oh, something in the jungle, right?
Oh yeah, the Day for Night. I don't want to.
Was that Day for Night?
That was Day for Night. They shot it in the day, and they had the color timers blew it to make it look like night. Normally, I'm okay with Day for Night. I don't think that this Day for Night felt very good.
I didn't even notice it because I didn't think they were trying to do night. I thought it was kind of like a passive dusk.
Sure, and maybe that is more accurate. Day for dusk. Maybe I just know too much, and it didn't feel right. Anyway,
you're better. You're superior.
No, I'm
my
not.
Dumb eyes, my dumb brain. I'm just looking at it. Oh, it looks good. And then Tiger comes out, and then this cook guy freaks out. As would I. I mean,
anyone would.
You'd think that you're in an environment where people are actively trying to kill you, and then a massive tiger just shows up out of nowhere. They make it on the boat, and he flips out. He starts breaking down, right? Oh no, tiger, the mangoes, right?
Never get off the boat. Never get off the boat.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, John. Never get off the boat, okay? And this is a huge theme that you hear from his dialogue from then on. And connecting to that, when they make it to the haven in Cambodia, well, supposed haven, it's more like a plague-infested area of Cambodia that's been taken over by a white dude named Marlon Brando. But Colonel Kurtz, they make it to Colonel Kurtz, and what is the first thing that the guy says? Their captain gets murdered, and he's talking to Captain Willard, and Captain Willard is saying, no, I got to go get to that weird place in Cambodia, right? And he says, fine, we'll go with you, but only if we stay in the boat. And he makes that point. We got to stay in the boat. And I thought, first of all, holy crap, that's one of the most brilliant subtleties and writings that I've seen in that movie. Like, wow, you really took that literally when you conveyed that he had a traumatic experience. You stuck to that. And now he's saying, no, I'm going to act out of that. No, we're staying together, but we got to do it in the boat, right? So I thought that was brilliant. Connecting to that.
I was going to say, I did not pick up on that. That's really cool.
It blew my mind.
That makes total sense.
But contrasting, I'll kind of cheat. This will be my number 2. Contrasting to that, Willard is the one who needs to go somewhere, and many of the time outside of the boat. He is the one who at the end goes and gets out of the boat into Colonel Kurtz's domain, his sanctuary of just terrible. I've heard actually that there might have been actual human remains that they found in that place. So, that's concerning.
When you're making a movie that's got dead bodies and corpses everywhere, there's bound to be a real one that gets lost in the mix.
Oof. Oh. It's the 70s, So contrasting, because again, these characters work off each other. The captain, this is another subtlety.
So to your point though about
yes.
Captain Willard getting off the boat, when Cook gets back, Cook or Chef?
I don't know. He's something. He's a saucier.
But his name was Cook? That's what they called him? Not Chef?
I don't know. I'm going to call him Cook because I don't remember his actual name.
We never remember names, folks.
Yep.
But when he gets back in the boat and starts breaking down and says, never leave the boat, never get out of the boat, we then hear a monologue from Captain Willard where he reiterates, he's like, never get out of the boat. I think he says something like, sure words have never been spoken, or something along those lines, like what he's saying is accurate. And then he repeats himself and he says, never get out of the boat unless you go all the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. That's brilliant that you pointed it out. Yeah, and he does. That ending scene where he gets out of the water, which I think is literally the start of that scene, right? The quintessential getting out of the water scene, right? That, which is cool to know that history now. Like, I from Pirates of the Caribbean, watching that as a kid, I see those stupid freaking heads that are pop out of the water, and they're trying to make it really cool. It's like, oh, I know where they got that from.
Ooh, we should do Pirates sometime.
It is a good franchise. Only 1 through 3. I can't take.
Let's never talk about everything after that.
It doesn't exist. We're not getting out of the boat of 1 through 3. Black Pearl. Okay. Also, you know what? I'll just base it in these characters. So we got those 2 characters, and the last character I'll point to is not Morpheus. I think he was anyway.
He was only 17,
was the surfer guy,
right?
Who cares?
Don't give him crap.
It's like he was, he played his part brilliantly. He was annoying, as he was supposed to be.
What? He was drumming on the boat. How is that not annoying?
You shove someone off the boat and say, okay, you're off the boat now. Okay. Now you leave the drumsticks, come back on the boat. All right.
Says the drummer.
That was major conviction right there. Okay. You have no idea how many times people have said, I'm going to hurl something at you if you don't stop.
Which is funny because I'm not a drummer, but that's happened to me way more times than I can count as well.
Whereas, oh yes, the surfer. Okay, he's this kind of competent dude, right? Like, he's fun-loving surfer dude. He's well known. Kilgore's like, we gotta go surfing, and that's pretty much the only reason why they were able to go to that side. Kilgore forded the way for the party in order for them to get to the other side to Cambodia. But his character progress is phenomenal. I didn't even realize really it was going underway until that scene where he lays the captain in the water and starts dancing with him and kisses him. And he basically goes absolutely insane, which is incredible for a specific reason. We're talking about subtlety. So when I look back, there's not one specific action that makes him insane. We know he starts competent, we know he starts sane, but he ends insane. And then there's these ever so slight adjustments in his perception, in his experiences, that causes him to lean into insanity, or to be caused to be to go insane. So that's what I thought was 3 character studies that were really interesting in giving the general layout of subtlety within those characters.
And the drug use didn't help.
Well, never does.
So if you're approaching it from a subtleties and character perspective, oh man, I want to approach it from subtleties in, I guess, visual design.
Okay. Well, you're perfect to talk about that because I have no idea what Day for Night is, apparently. So go ahead. Pour it out.
Okay. Did you pick up on the cow?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes, I totally did. They were doing that. Yeah.
To me,
say that story.
The cow is, as far as I can see, the central symbolic figure to the entire movie. And
wow.
I would not just say the cow at the end. The idea of cattle in general and the idea of meat. The movie starts off with Captain Willard being invited to headquarters, I guess, to chat with the high-ups about about a mission that they're giving him.
Yeah.
And before they even give him the mission, the commanding officer there says, "Why don't we sit down over lunch?" And then immediately offers him beef.
Roast beef.
Which one of the other characters then goes on to skewer with a fork and place on his own plate. Like, they focus on that. That is like a really... At first I was like, okay, we're focusing a lot on the food here. What's that got to do with anything? And then when they introduce Kilgore, and we go through the entire first scene where he's at before the whole Flight of the Valkyries section, we see a cow being airlifted out of the area. And again, the camera really focuses on the fact that, oh yeah, cow. Yep, we're taking that. That's ours now.
Right before, what was the previous shot to that?
There was a priest in the middle of a war zone leading... a small congregation of U.S. soldiers through communion. As we see a church that was in the process of being built in the background, and everything around it is being torched, firebombed, destroyed, wiped off the face of the planet. And from that, a cow is taken and airlifted out of there. I believe the next time we see cattle is at the very end of the movie, which... The cow is taken from the temple that Colonel Kurtz is in, literally taken down the steps out of the temple, with Kurtz there standing in the doorway watching all of this happen, as the cattle is then taken down into where all the people are awaiting it. The surfer guy, I believe, is the one who prepares the cow. He covers the cow.
Oh, really?
He covers the cow in something. I don't know whether it was a paint, or whether it was a seasoning of some sort, or whether it was a ritualistic blood. I don't know. But you see him wiping down the cow in some way, as he's either talking or muttering to himself. All of this, I believe, is during either loud music he was playing, or some monologue from Captain Willard. The cow is then prepared, and the entire native population have a sacrificial festival where they sacrifice the cow. And while this is happening, we have the big conclusion of the movie, which to me all ties together into one central idea that as to what this story is about. The sacrifice of what may be a sacred cow, the fact that Colonel Kurtz is, as Captain Willard puts it, he was destined for the top. He was destined for a chairmanship. He's flawless in every way. He is the perfect soldier. He is the perfect officer. And he is the least thing that you would ever expect to be called to be taken out and to be relieved of his position with, how did they put it? Absolute prejudice.
Oh yeah, that's a fun term.
And then just to really solidify that idea at the beginning of the film, where beef is then served to the commanding officers. It's like, oh,
Willard is
beautiful.
eating the beef, right? And so
I,
that prejudice is.
I don't remember if he actually serves himself, and if he does, I don't think he
does
partakes.
he not?
I'm not sure if he actually
Interesting, okay.
partakes. Because he's
So
offered.
maybe he's not following prejudice. He's saying no. I don't know what to think of this man yet. I don't know what to think of this beef yet.
Well, just before that scene, when he first walks into the trailer, or the mobile home, or mobile command center, I don't know what you call it. When he walks up there, his monologue is really clear. As he's walking in the door and the camera cuts to inside, he literally says, "If Kurtz's story is a confession, then so is mine." And he really ties his own story to Kurtz's story. All throughout the movie, there's that gradual movement from him knowing generally about him. He even says at the beginning, like, I've heard his name before. From going from not knowing much about him to respecting who he was, and to a certain extent, sympathizing with what he has become. Oh, such good dialogue, such good symbolism. In that,
Can you?
were you going to say something?
Do you have a last one? Because I would like you to go into, if second to last at least,
Sure.
their use of light in the introduction of Colonel Kurtz.
Just the fact that he's in shadow?
Yeah. Like what do you think? It's kind of obvious subtlety, but what subtlety did you see there?
Well, so I wouldn't pull that out. I'd look at the film as a whole, not just in lighting, but in, how would you call it? Verticality? We start the movie with explosions and carpet bombs in the midst of helicopter blades. And as the movie progresses, we go from ceiling fans and helicopter blades down onto the water, and then under the water as he comes up out of the water towards the end, and then sort of into the earth as he enters this stone temple. So there's this, and he even says in about halfway through the movie in his monologue, how did he put it? Something like there's so many lies in Nam that you have to have wings to soar above them, or you have to have wings in order to keep yourself from sinking into them. There, to me, I saw the symbolism of starting up high. He's not in Nam, but he wishes he was. He flies in, literally flies on the wings of Valkyries, and then gradually is lowered under the water, emerges from the water to then go beneath the earth in symbolism in the stone temple. And likewise in the idea of light. The movie starts with explosions and then is mostly in the daytime, and then gradually the light dims. We have a day for night scene. We have a lot of shots at night. We have a lot of evening shots and a lot of shots in the shadow of trees or mountains, until finally we end up at night, and sometimes in the day, inside of a temple with shadow, more shadow than light in many cases.
And the shadow himself, the one he confronts.
Yes. The enigma that he himself said, "I was sure that I would know what to do when I saw him, but now that I'm here."
And then he's kind of demystified. after that. He's much more present in light, Colonel Kurtz.
Yes, I would agree. I am amazed when I learned that this is actually, there's another cut of this film that's like, what, 5.5 hours long?
Oh my gosh.
And so I am amazed that they were able to be very concise with their symbolism in a version that is as cut down as it is. And I'm also wondering what else they had to say if the movie was 5 hours in length if you take all the footage that was shot. Is it overly long and needs to be cut down? Or was there a whole lot more information into these characters? I'm genuinely curious, though I'm not like chomping at the bit to watch a 5 hour film.
Yeah, me neither. Man, holy crap. If people say, oh, it's a little slow, I can imagine what a 5.5 hour movie would be like.
Let's see. With all of their use of helicopters, it's interesting how clear they are when Kilgore gets out of the helicopter when they land on the shore where they're going to go surfing. And right on the nose of the chopper, it says death from above. Which, if you put that into context of everything in the movie, the helicopters are the ones that ship in Captain Willard, who himself is sent on a mission to kill. You have the helicopters bringing death to the village. You have the cow is actually being shipped out on a helicopter. And then I would add that the entertainment for the crew, the Playboy helicopter.
Oh, there's a stamp on that I wonder if like that was their helicopter or something like that.
Well, probably more advertisement than anything else.
Well, I know, but I think it would be hilarious if in the Vietnam War there was like an actual, like that's the level of degeneracy we as humans devolved into.
Right.
Government rented.
But just the idea, that whole idea, death from above, in all of these contexts. I'm not entirely sure it was all intended by the creators, but
Oh, sure.
some of it definitely was. And I appreciate the attention to detail.
So, author's intent. We can kind of go into the variety of different things that the author used for the intent, but why don't we say, what is the core intent the authors kind of wanted to convey, and how can we tie certain things of the film into that intent, or the way they used it?
So, to me, I think what stood out as probably the surface level intent, the one that I think everyone seeing the movie is supposed to walk away with, at least from what I saw, the fact that the movie starts and ends with those slow shots of the forest, shots of explosions and carpet bombs with the main character, and the movie starts with the line in the song saying this is the end, and the movie ends with Kurtz's line when he is killed, the horror. The horror.
There you go. That's pretty good Marlon Brando, man.
Thanks. We should do The Godfather at some point. Every time we see something in the movie, every time there's a very clear, over-the-top scene, very clear communication as to what it is, just by watching it, we then follow up that scene with a monologue from Willard, who very clearly is like, yeah, the war, the war, the war, the war, it's not good, the war bad, people in command are nutso, as nuts as Kurtz is. He has one line, what is it? Oh, I don't remember how it goes, something along the lines of a lot of the 4-star officers in control of this, how did he put it, this circus, are going to run it into the ground or something like that. So from what I saw, the creators of this film clearly wanted the audience to walk away with the knowledge that war is bad. And I don't think that there was anything looking towards any redeeming aspects of war, any benefits that are brought about, but just 100% war is awful. Those who leave the war have no home to go home to because they have changed so much, and those who are there in the war have nothing but the war to look forward to. Even there's a line from Willard when they're leaving the the entertainment scene, and it's the next day, and he's looking over it all, and he says,
Oh yeah.
how did he put it? That Charlie gets no
Charlie doesn't get what? Yeah, what does he say?
SO. Charlie doesn't get much SO in the war.
Crashes
Or rather, he considers SO to be a bowl of rice and some
yeah.
whiskey, something like that.
That was super poetic, man.
But then, how did he put it? The only way out for Charlie is to die or to win the war. And so, again, just hammering home, there's nothing good in war. There is nothing good in war. That is the message of this film, at least as far as I saw it. I think that was what was intended. I do think there's some deeper things, but I'm not sure that I was able to pull them out. But how about you? Before we get into deep stuff, what were your thoughts?
Totally agree. Hindsight, meaning I searched things up on the internet.
Oh, boo! That's cheating.
I know. But I wanted to see some of the behind the scenes. Okay, what was the makeup? Like, what did this look like? Now, during the movie, yes. There was literally no other takeaway that I don't think could have taken. The only thing that was pretty funny was obviously Kilgore. And we could have gone through so many scenes that the bridge to kind of bordering Cambodia, that really shows the darkness of war, that no one's really in charge, right?
That scene's so great. Hey, who's in charge here? Do you know who's in charge here? Yeah.
Sure.
And then he just walks off.
Roach was cool. Yeah. I don't know why he's credited, but I've heard that name. I think maybe it's used parabolically in other films. But I was like, oh, Roach, before I was looking at the cast list. I was like, oh, Roach, he'll have a really important role or something. And then I see him and he has 3 minutes of footage. And it's just him blowing up, an enemy and then walking off vaguely. He was pretty cool though. Fun fact, there were super creepy in the Vietnam War dudes who could kill almost spiritually. We got the mock-up of Roach. He had all those very weird necklaces that kind of pointed to a more spiritual, almost demonic sort of hunt that this main character who's called in to defeat the enemy, he's called in because he has this weird connection. But there is a precedence in Vietnam for these really odd figures in the military who were just kind of pretty creepy. But anyway, so there's all these things saying bad, war's bad. If you're ethnic and a U.S. Navy boat comes across you, guess what? You're going to get shot up, bad. Even the people in charge of that will go mad. They're not really, so 2 rhymes there, mad and bad. You'll go mad and it's bad. Horror causes men to contort their initial goodness into this vainglory. Kilgore is still attempting to solve the war. It's not like he says, oh, well, screw it. No, he's just, instead of doing it their way, he's doing it his way. And the reporter who's intermixed with Colonel Kurtz's cult, harps on that. He says, oh, Colonel Kurtz, he's a genius, he's brilliant, right? But he can be heavy-handed, as body lay a strewn all, by him. So that's the main.
I love that character. But oh my goodness.
He actually played very well for, I think, the role that he was given. That's hard to like that. He's basically a voice. So how do you even engage with that?
Right.
I would say he's probably the less developed character, but he plays it very well, as if it's developed.
It goes out not with a bang, but with a whimper. And with the whimper, I'm out of here, man.
That's what I assume every single 60s reporter now is. They're just absolutely crazy looking for cults. So I thought, yeah, that was the main thing. Watching the interviews, though, there is a sub kind of meaning within this. And it's the approach. And obviously, I thought it more of the utilize. It was the means to convey that war was bad. But this was apparently a very important thing for them. The meaning of being one with the environment, being one with the jungle in order to reach the mission, which is very based on the initial book. John, you can probably speak to more about this, but the initial book as a core reference for the writer was what's it called? Oh, Heart of Darkness. Heart of Darkness.
A book written over 100 years ago and was considered a harsh criticism against racism and colonialism.
Yes. Oh, and also America, big A America, if you want to call it that, is demonized. I mean, that's where I got the whole, like, the priest, the cow thing, which you did an amazing job. I had no idea until you mentioned it. I was like, oh my gosh, yeah, beef is a huge thing.
Yep.
I took the face value thing, which was the priests, administering the rite of the Eucharist, and then this cow passes over, and I'm like, okay, they're just, look, see, white man's religion is bad because we're stealing cows. So it's like, okay, I understand. You're just trying to poo-poo on, everything. So those kind of juxtaposition.
That's interesting that you would tie that together so closely, because that whole scene from when they get off the boat onto the shore till when that scene is over at night when they're at the campfire, that whole scene was pretty much there to show everything that is wrong with the glorification of the war effort. Because they even mention, as they're getting on shore, that merely an hour ago this village was totally fine. And right now, Kilgore is cleaning up work that hadn't even begun an hour ago. And then they get on shore. We immediately see the devastation intermixed with a video crew. And the guy saying, it's just like TV. Move on, keep going.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that was hilarious.
Which then immediately goes into introducing Kilgore, who is shown as being, okay, this could be a guy who's really in control, who knows what he's doing. And then he, you see people, there's a photographer taking pictures of him, and he immediately goes over to help this poor dying local on the floor and to give him water. Only to hear that, we have a celebrity surfer? Oh, forget this guy. Let's go talk to this other guy. Which then immediately ushers us towards the church, where we then see the communion being administered. And it's all happening while there are flamethrowers and destruction and devastation in the background, which is so absurd, yet was probably some of the stuff that actually happened in some cases. But it's such a mockery of the war effort. Not necessarily the realism of the war, but the way that it is portrayed and presented to the American public.
It's a massive irony. Like, that is a big, massive theme. Alongside war is bad, we are just jokes for engaging in that horror. Do you have anything else to add?
Well, I feel that there was a deeper thing that they were hitting on in the story.
Pray tell. Because I don't think I may have gotten a deeper meaning than the, boilerplate kind of.
So towards the beginning, the first lines in the movie that are spoken by Captain Willard when he's in his apartment, the first word out of his mouth is profanity. What word can I substitute? Poop, I guess? He just looks out the window and he's like, ugh. Saigon. Ugh. just twice in a row, profanity. And then we get to hear his inner monologue discuss how this is his, third time in Vietnam. He served one tour, went home, found that there was home wasn't there anymore.
Yep.
And how did he put it? The first thing that he said to his wife was when he said yes to his divorce. And that says so much and so little. Bravo to the writing. But he was saying that when he was in the jungle, he wanted to be home. And when he was home, he just wanted to get back into the jungle. And so there's very clearly this sense that, he goes on to even say that every minute more he spends in his apartment, he gets weaker. And the Charlie out there in the jungle gets stronger.
Yeah.
And he feels that moment by moment the walls are closing in on him more and more. And then we have that elongated scene of him really losing it in alcohol, punching a mirror, wiping the blood all over himself, just screaming in his own despair and misery of not having a purpose in life anymore, being trapped in this apartment, wanting to go back in the jungle with a purpose and a mission, but having no mission to follow through on. And then he gives that mention that everyone gets what they want, as we see the officers coming up the stairs to talk to him, and saying that his mission was finally brought to him as one brings room service. And so then we see the whole rest of the movie is him shocked at the mission that he's undertaking. He recalls after getting the mission that he's killed, at least 7 people that he knows of.
6, I thought.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, 6 people that he knows of. Close enough to feel their last breath, as he put it. And now he's given a new mission to take someone out, and it's not supposed to affect him that it's an American, but it does. And so from there, he gradually has almost kinship with this Colonel Kurtz as he learns more about him, reading all the dossiers, reading all of the classified documents. Slowly, he begins to understand him. While all of this is happening, there's also this very clear viewpoint of his that he no longer understands anyone who's in charge. That, as he puts it, the people who are in charge are as insane, if not more so, than Kurtz is supposed to be. And so gradually he disassociates himself with the rational world and associates himself with what he has been told is insanity, but he has yet to actually meet him. Though he does read about what Kurtz has done and goes, yeah, at some point, Kurtz became absolutely insane. He completely lost it. And so it's so hard to put into words. I think there's this clear, I say clear, and yet I can't put it into words. There's this idea that things that are rational may not always be the truth, may not always be where to look for our meaning in life. That the rational is so full of lies, and as Willard puts it, he's done with lies. He's sick of lies. Until eventually he does meet Kurtz, and there's that great dialogue when they first meet, and Kurtz asks him, "What is my crime? Like, why am I charged? What are you here to do? Why am I being put out of my command?" And Willard says, "Because your methods have been deemed, unsuitable or unfit." And then Kurtz responds with another question. He's like, "And what do you think about my methods?" And Willard's response is, "I don't think that I don't see any methods at all."
There isn't, yeah.
And so this whole movie, I think Willard has been slowly distancing himself from the rational in the hopes that there is the meaning to his own life, a purpose for him now that he has no home to go back to. His entire life is in the jungle and his purpose is in the jungle, yet he must be given a mission for there to be a purpose. And the mission is given to him by people who he doesn't agree with, at least not anymore, because he sees them as irrational. And so he's hoping to lean into this insanity in the hopes of finding something there for himself, only to find in the end that there's nothing there either. And I'm not actually sure what the conclusion to that is, because as we know, the film concludes, he kills Kurtz. He takes the surfer back onto his boat, and they head off into the night. We find from Kurtz that he very much wanted, I think he put in his notes, that to the person who kills me, please go back and, let my family know.
Yeah.
And so is that what Willard is going to do now? I don't think so.
Well, but I would say that he may, because Kurtz was looking, not to interject, but to add, Kurtz was looking for a specific soldier, the one, that's kind of like what the reporter was talking about. Like, he sees something in you. And I think Willard ultimately personifies the perfect soldier. A human soldier, one that doubts, but the soldier who follows his task. Yes, he has his own motives. And yes, there's a sway in who's over him when it comes to reason. I think in the end, it's less his command that was given to him by the U.S. Army that he carries out the murder of Kurtz, but more that Kurtz, in Willard's estimation, wants to be killed by Willard.
Yes.
That he's now going to take out Kurtz because Kurtz wants him to.
He has that really great monologue where he says that, like, the brass wants him dead, the people want him dead, and even he wants him dead. Like, even the man himself wants to be put out of his misery.
Mm-hmm. He wants to go out like a warrior. I think that's what he said, right?
Yes. Standing up.
And that there's some honor that I think in what he does is he inhabits the role of the jungle. He inhabits of the role of Colonel Kurtz in kind of like a madness, right? Which is, we see that juxtaposed with the murder of the cow, right? That's a very parallel story, as you pointed out, where we as Americans looking on see, oh my gosh, they're, first of all, we should reference that. I'm pretty sure they kill a cow on film. Brutally sacrifice this cow on film. I've never seen something like that. That kind of was like, whoa, okay. Did you see? You weren't taken aback by that at all?
Oh, I mean, a little bit, but I've seen movies where they kill animals before. This is definitely not the first. There's a Japanese film where they actually kill a turtle, a snapping turtle, to prepare as a meal, and they lob off the head like right on camera. It's like, oh.
Hello.
I'm actually curious if it's really that bad to kill animals on camera, considering we have animals killed en masse every day to be put into fast food. Like,
sure.
And I would all argue, I can be argued against, I can probably be convinced out of this opinion, but I would argue that an animal being killed on film, especially for a good film that has a lot to say, is better than an animal being killed to be put in some cheap food.
I would agree. In the sense of, let's take Apocalypse Now, for example. That cow has become a statement.
Very much so.
Which is much more elevated than probably a quarter pounder at McDonald's. Although it is very glorious, we can all admit this, quarter pounders are pretty, okay, they're not that great.
They're okay.
There's better. Five Guys is pretty good. We're not sponsored by Five Guys.
Or McDonald's.
We would love to. Or McDonald's, yeah. Yes. Now, I would agree if it is for the statement of shock and evil. Because killing something on camera it evokes a visceral reaction.
Absolutely.
And I think it's supposed to.
It should.
And that's important.
Although, to be fair, all of this comes from us, city folk, who did not grow up on farms.
Yes. Fish are different. Like, it's easier to kill a fish.
Says the fisherman.
Well, when there's fur, it's like, that's, yeah.
So to your point, yes, it is extremely shocking, someone like me who has never killed an animal, to see this happen on camera. It is, and it does elicit a reaction. I think that if you had put a fake animal in its place, though, I probably wouldn't have noticed, especially if you did it right.
Sure. Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure it's needed. You could also judge cost as well. Is it cheaper to get a cow and kill it, or is it cheaper to reconstruct a cow to the point that it bleeds and flays properly? Yikes. But then you're giving jobs to some people. I don't know. I don't think there's a right answer to this. But we can both agree that this isn't the intended...
No.
Death was not intended to be in the world. It's not a good thing.
Oh, now we're going into biblical concepts. This can be a segue then.
What can we take away as believers?
What can we take away? As the cow perished, and it's terrible to see that cow that was slaughtered, like Colonel Kurtz, and like the madness that ensues from this journey to Colonel Kurtz. How can we, as believers, John, how can we take away anything from this movie if it just paints such a bleak picture? What can we do? John, tell me.
I know for my case, I walked away from this movie a little bit euphoric because it is quite a grand story that they are telling. But at the same time, I walked away exhausted because there's a lot that's being said, particularly about war, and it's a heavy topic. This is coming from someone who has never seen war before. I mean, I praise God that I haven't been in the midst of real combat. And I've spoken with those who have, and it takes a toll on you, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. So walking away from this movie, being very exhausted, a little bit overwhelmed, I don't think that I take away anything positive from the movie directly, but rather in the midst of my exhaustion and amazement, I reflect upon the things that the movie has said, the things that the movie has presented, and I reflect on that in the context of what Scripture says, of what God has shown through history. That yes, while war is bad, there's a reason that it's here now, in part because we sinned in the garden, and mankind, people, the human race, that we are now sinful beings, and we are selfish by our very nature. And that causes division amongst us, which in some cases leads to entire people groups and cultures to be at war with each other. Ultimately, though, we know that, or at least those of us who believe what the Bible says, is that there will be an end to this eventually. I believe Paul actually encourages believers to remind each other that Jesus is coming back, and that's not just we're not to remind each other for reminder's sake, but we're to remind each other because it is encouraging. Because we know that what we see now is not all that will ever be. That eventually, in the Lord's timing, that he will return and he will make things right. Truly right. Truly, as the Jewish word shalom. Not just meaning peace, but meaning a complete peace. That everything is as it should be, as it is supposed to be. A sort of a restoration. I've heard it said kind of getting back to the way things were in the garden, where mankind is at perfect peace with each other, mankind is at perfect peace with nature, and mankind is at perfect peace with God. And that's been promised. Jesus promises that is coming, that there is a time when things will be restored. And so as heavy as this movie is, at least for me, it's hard to be discouraged forever coming out of this, because I know that things will be made right.
That's good. You mentioned it, and I think in this topic, this section of the program, we talk about, what can believers take away from it. You mentioned something, and it's kind of like a fundamental principle of movies, but movies are supposed to be experienced. Most stories are.
You mean we're not supposed to talk about them in passing, and that's our only encounter with the story?
No. Yeah, they're just cold, systematic philosophy, syllogisms. That's it. That's all stories are supposed to be. But this is a medium of story, right? And Shpielberg, we're all about all different types of mediums of stories. But I think in particular, movies are heavily experienced in a very sensory-rich way, because they involve a lot of our senses. And in that, I like what you said about, what you experienced, what you have felt after watching the movie and during watching the movie. For me, so I'm more of an actor type. So I like to, I don't even think it maybe is voluntary a lot of times. I almost inhabit a role afterwards where I feel things in the sense that I've received it from a story. So I kind of, I don't know, had some thoughts of like Willard-esque kind of dialogue within me about the film, I try to put a cigarette to my mouth and I realize, wait, no, I don't even smoke,
Dude, you're not alone in that. So
Yeah.
when I started
Yep.
up this movie, I'm like, it's gonna be a long movie. I'm gonna settle in. So I turn off my ceiling fan, let the room just get hot, just because it's Vietnam.
Oh yeah.
And I actually have a small Zippo lighter that I was flicking open and close the whole
Yes.
movie.
Yes. Oh, that's hilarious. But okay, first of all, and that does enhance a movie. I would recommend you even try it if you're in like a movie that you can physically input something that connects you to it. It is a cool experience. But anyway, afterwards, it's this whole experience of wrestling with that darkness because it is a dark movie, right? There's almost a sense where I don't even have words for it, but it's like, oh, that was really dark, but oh, that was so good, where I'm reveling in the amazing movie that I've just witnessed, the spectacle, the story, how it connects the investigation in each of the characters and the psychology of war. And at the same time, I'm pulled down with the weight of what all of this means. And so these two things collide. And in my role, my responsibility as a free agent, free insofar as I'm able to be free, my role is to see if what I've just experienced in the story aligns with what I believe. And what I found was that my feelings didn't necessarily line up what I believe. In large part, they do, however. In large part, I see sin as it is, as best as I can. It is wrong. It's bad. It's evil. It's a moral evil. And I felt that. And I think that's biblical. Word sin that I'm even using is in a context of the Bible. And sin and war is big throughout Scripture. And war is sometimes even used as a good thing, but for what? For what means? And that's where the point of contention came in. Glory in war, glory in death, the warrior's mindset is wrong unless it seeks to sacrifice itself for good. And this is where it brought up the fact that God uses war, God uses terrible, 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 terrible thing to bring out his glorified end, which is ultimately a fulfilled, a redeemed end, like you said, the shalom, that there will be peace. And yet we will still call the Lord of hosts, hosts meaning armies. Isn't that interesting? God will still retain the title, the Lord of hosts. And in this sense, it's no longer against, opposed. It is for. It is for God and God alone. It only retains its positive definition now. And that's why I think that there is some form of glory in war. And it's not the bad, it's not the horror. Instead, it's that redeemed aspect of fighting to the last in order to bring about or maintain good. And where do we see that? What's the ultimate picture? What's the ultimate picture that we can probably compare? Well, we keep talking about it on this program, and Christianity has been talking about it. Actually, the Bible has been talking about it. The ultimate attestation of fighting against good and evil at the pinnacle point of history is Jesus. And instead of coming with a fiery sword to vanquish his enemies, instead, his fighting to the last was to be the last, the first of the last, the Alpha and the Omega of those who are called to death. And he took death upon himself so that we might not experience spiritual death, the ultimate death, which is separation from God. And so we could take comfort in that, right? That we do have a warrior, but he is the one who, on the cross, very much like the hilt of a medieval sword, he's the one who bared the sword by taking the sword upon him. Therefore, we don't have to experience all that. And that's not preaching to you, that's preaching to me, because wow, okay. In light of that, amen, apocalypse now. Apocalypse has come upon the sun, and now I can revel in that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's all we have today. John, do you have any farewell words for our viewers?
Yeah. Do you recommend this movie?
Ooh, good question.
Before we go, I should ask that. Because it's a hard movie. It's about war. We have a lot of language. We have quite a few racist comments. We have some nudity, some promiscuity, and a general darkness to the whole film. So in the context of everything that we discussed, what we liked, what we didn't like, what we saw, what we thought the artists were trying to convey, and what our takeaways were, in the context of all of this, would you recommend this movie?
I'm going to ask the same of you, but my answer would be it depends. There's a case for reading old fairy tales to children to kind of get them used to what the world may be. This has been an argument that's been said before by a couple different types of people. To give these old, they're very scary, some of these old fairy stories, in order to kind of, preface the world to children about the darkness of this world and bring some light to it. And I would say to those who can bear it, this is a very mature, grim fairy tale. No pun intended, but that kind of is a pun. But anyway, so to those who feel like, or can even draw some wisdom from maybe seeing the dark in order to contrast the dark with the light, it could be helpful. But for those who maybe, need comforting, I wouldn't watch this with the family, like, oh, no, Shpielberg said you were good. But what do you think?
I think that's pretty well put. I do think it does depend. Depends on the countenance of the person. I know plenty of people who are very, very wary of what they put before their eyes because they do not want the enemy to use it against them. And if you are one of those people, go and read a plot synopsis, read the Wikipedia article, just because this is a very heavy movie. And I would not say it's for everyone. I do not think everyone needs to see it, nor would everyone benefit from it. That said, to those who are comfortable with the things mentioned, this movie is cinematic beauty. It's a wonderful film. Coming from someone who appreciates good cinematography. And I recommend this movie to those who kind of know what they're getting into. Definitely do not feel the fear of missing out.
Yeah.
We here on Shpielberg, we do not want to preach FOMO.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the teacher in Ecclesiastes says that there is nothing new under the sun. And what he means by that is that there are no experiences that a human can experience that are somehow completely brand new, never encountered before. So whether you saw a movie that was made in the 1920s and experienced shock and awe, or whether you saw a film that came out yesterday and experienced shock and awe, it is the same shock and awe in both cases. So I don't think you are missing out if you never see any movie in and of itself. But I do think there is some benefit in kind of what we're doing. Not seeing a film for its own sake, but seeing a film to contemplate it, to discuss it, to hopefully reflect on what it has to say in light of what God has to say. And hopefully to be encouraged and to grow from it. And also, movies are fun.
Amen. Just letting you know, I'm one of those sensitive people. So I actually use certain programs to omit things from movies. And I find that helpful. But I totally agree. That truth that John has pointed out. And I want to leave it with that. That is...
What are those? What are those programs? Not that we are sponsored in any way.
We should be sponsored. If you want to be... VidAngel is a very well-known one. I watched it on VidAngel. Now, I got the darkness watching it through VidAngel. Like, it wasn't, omitted. Like, there's no way to sanctify a dark movie, There's no way to... Maybe there'll be, like, AI programs in the future where they just totally change a plot, but there's no way to sanctify or change a movie in its intent, I think, unless you change the movie. But there is ways to omit certain things that our eyes or our ears hear and see. So I use VidAngel. There's other programs that you can look into. All right. Well, we'll leave you with that. Tune in next time. And let us do all things this coming week unto the glory of God. Amen.